by teaching me about ham and eggs. The chicken that laid the egg was involved. The pig the ham came from, he was committed. These are just a few examples of how the state of Alabama can save money without cutting services. In addition, opportunity costs are another area where the state is being negatively financially impacted. For example, the state does not need to be in the retail business, as it already gets the tax revenue from liquor sales. So why do we need the risk and expense associated with being in the retail distribution of liquor? We don't. The state needs to sell off its almost 200 ABC stores, just like the federal government needs to sell off the United States Postal Service. The state has over $2 billion in cash. The opportunity cost associated with that is staggering, to say the least. Alabama needs to use some of that cash and form and capitalize its own state-owned bank. North Dakota has had its state-owned bank for almost 100 years, and its performance and contribution to the state of North Dakota has been phenomenal, to say the least. I mention this because the immediate and long-term impact from the recent tornadoes is where a state-owned bank would have a positive and lasting effect. The simple fact of the matter is that the federal government is only going to be able to do so much as the federal government is on the verge of bankruptcy itself. The state-owned bank, like any bank, would have access to the Fed window, whereby the state-owned bank could borrow money at short-term Fed rates and loan it to those in need. The state-owned bank would do disaster lending, which would ignite business, growth, and development, which would provide quick aid and would stimulate new activity and business in disaster-ravaged areas. The state-owned bank would also do student loan lending to those wishing to attend state schools. Simply put, a state-owned bank would be the depository for all state funds. Furthermore, the state-owned bank would lend money to state businesses and individuals and to those wishing to come to the state, all of which would stimulate our state economy. As I alluded to earlier, the biggest problem the state has on the horizon is the huge healthcare tsunami that is heading its way. I equate it to the old saying, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. The same applies to maintenance versus repairs. Wellness and healthcare must go hand in hand to mitigate the intermediate and long-term cost impacts of the state. Let me give you some statistics, and you will understand why I have used the word tsunami. Global obesity has nearly doubled since 1980. The southeastern United States is known as the stroke belt, the diabetes belt. Alabama is ranked number 2 in obesity. Almost 2/3 of states have opt-out provisions for physical education. A study recently came out concluding that obesity is a direct result of lifestyle and choices and not genetics. So what does obesity have to do with the healthcare tsunami that every state, including Alabama, is facing? A lot. Since Alabama is already being hit and will be hit even more by the ever-increasing medical costs associated with diabetes and heart-related illnesses, given our state's very high obesity rate. How do we avoid it? What can we do? We can encourage and subsidize prevention and penalize irresponsibility. Prevention includes subsidizing approved preventive measures to stop addictive and irresponsible lifestyle choices, like smoking, excessive drinking, overindulging, and so on. Additionally, subsidizing the use of fitness facilities is needed, provided that the facilities are used for the express single purpose of improving one's physical fitness, health, and well-being. How these subsidies are paid is in itself its own speech. I will, however, say that town and city park and recreation centers and the YMCA network should be engaged so that regardless of where someone lives, everyone has access to health and fitness facilities. In the long run, prevention will be far less expensive than the alternative. But prevention is just one part of the solution, and we must discourage irresponsible decisions, self-inflicted circumstances, and irresponsible lifestyle choices. I know something about prevention, which is far better than the alternative. I used to drink. I've not drank in 19 years. I used to smoke. I have not smoked in 19 years. I was a walking heart attack. I used to be 100 pounds heavier than I am now. I had a 48-inch waist, a 17.5-inch neck, and wore a 52 coat. I always looked at it from the perspective that there was more of me to love. I used to tell my wife that I was portly, but she just called me porky. The human body is very forgiving if you give it the chance. The lungs rejuvenate when someone stops smoking. The liver rejuvenates when someone stops excessive drinking. How I lost my weight? Exercise. Now I cycle and swim. I am more conscious of what I eat, and I am in the best physical shape I have ever been in. Furthermore, FSPAR is not convinced that our schools need to eliminate any teachers. FSPAR believes that the problems that exist in our schools are very similar to those problems and bleeders that exist in government. Moreover, our schools must be the front line in the obesity battle with respect to our youth, our next generation. But again, don't take my word. Various wellness and healthcare-related professionals have openly agreed, supported, endorsed, and applauded FSPAR's position. Understand that a healthy society is influenced by its permanence and its progression, and that hope, change, growth, and renewal are not only critical but essential to society and to us humans. I say this because some of what I have mentioned here is not. But remember that consensus follows action, and reward follows risk. This is how progression and capitalism thrive, but not government. My daddy used to tell me, don't peel my leg and try to convince me that it's raining. Yet isn't that how you feel when talking to or listening to politicians? Sometimes you have only one chance and one opportunity to get it done and to get it done right. Our state is out of chances. Thomas Jefferson said that if a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects what never was and never will be. Will Durant said that civilization begins with order, grows with liberty, and dies with chaos. Richard Lamb, the former governor of Colorado, said we have an unbalanced community in favor of individualism, responsibilities in favor of rights, and duties in favor of privileges. We want education without study, wealth without work, freedom without participation, and democracy without citizenship. We must self-correct, change for the better, or perish. Ladies, let me be perfectly clear. If you listen to nothing else I've said, listen now. We must not relent, we must not quit, and we must never give up. We have to be responsible to and for ourselves while holding our public officials accountable. At homes, when times are tough and money is tight, you tighten your belts. Maybe you go without. Maybe you just economize. Maybe you don't go out to eat as often. Maybe you have game night instead of going to the movies. Maybe you shop at thrift stores. Maybe you only shop where stores are having sales. Maybe you clip and use coupons. The one thing you don't do is go to your employer and say, times are tough, I need more